So we got a new look at Super. Oh wait, that's not a new look. That's an old look. So I gotta love Real Anarchy. He posted this today. He goes, "Imagine if they never changed the suit," because everybody just loves to complain about the suit. Now this is from one of the parades back probably in the 40s, and this is what Superman looked like back then. Like this is nuts. This is nuts. Like that is crazy looking of what Superman looked like, and just over the years. The reason why I wanted to highlight this from Real Anarchy is because he does make a good point here. Is over the years, Superman has changed. His suit has changed. Everything about him, in many ways, has changed over the years. Now, granted, in the last probably 10, 15 years, maybe more, maybe 20 years, his powers really haven't changed. That's all pretty much stayed the same over that course of time. Definitely probably more than 20 years. But his suits have changed. His look has changed. And it adapts over time. The new 52 is different from the what we got later on in Rebirth. And then we have what we had in Superman Returns, what we had in the Man of Steel in the DCEU. I mean, we have different iterations and things that look different. And some people like what we get. Sometimes we don't like what we get. Sometimes we have writers who write Superman comics that just don't land with everybody. Sometimes we have artists that depict him in ways that just don't land with everybody. And in a way, I think that's what Real Anarchy was kind of getting at here. Is he's like, look, imagine if they never changed the suit, if it just stayed one way for nearly 100 years. Like that would be kind of lame. Like we see different iterations over that time, and that's kind of the beauty of not just Superman, but all comic book characters. All of these characters, we see new inventive iterations where artists and filmmakers and writers can kind of adapt and change these characters in new inventive ways. And that's what I love to see. So when people sit there and complain about what we've gotten, which we haven't gotten much when it comes to James Gunn's Superman, but when they sit there and complain about it, it's like, what's the point? I mean, we had a new version in 2013. We had a version in 2006. We had a version in 2001 with Smallville. We had a version in the mid 90s with Superman and or the Adventures of Lois and Clark. I mean, we have all these different versions. It always changes. It always looks different. It's always going to be different in some form or fashion. What's the point of complaining? That's what I'm getting to. What do you think, Joe? Like, am I onto something here? Is it time for people to just relax?
No, I completely agree. And the thing is, it's like, yeah, minor changes, cosmetic changes. The powers will change slightly. I mean, at one point he could like juggle planets, and they're like, oh, he's a little too strong. Let's dial it back. But
Yeah.
but the thing is, the core of the character, the core of who he is, generally remains the same. And that's the important thing.
Yeah. And again, when it comes to his powers, like you said, he's been depicted as overpowered at times. He's been depicted as weaker at times. At one time, all he could do was leap a building. He couldn't fly. And there were times when he was only as fast as a speeding bullet. And now
the electric era? Do you remember the blue electric era from the 90s?
Yes.
I didn't care for that myself, but
but there's times when things just change and they adapt, and sometimes it's for the better, sometimes it's for the worse. Sometimes it's because the times have changed, because the world is different, and these characters have to adapt to the world around them. And when you take a look at this picture here, that was very on brand for that time frame. Like, that is what you would expect a superhero to look like in that time. That would not work in today's time. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. So when we sit there and we take a look at this image that was an exclusive from Fandango that popped up yesterday, this is Superman of today. That is Superman. It encapsulates heroics, like heroism. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Heroism. It looks like he's I guess, stoic in a way. I know that's not really the word I want to use, but it does. He puts off a little bit of that. But not just that. He's got the blue, he's got the red, he's got the trunks, he's got the logo, the emblem, the crest on his chest. It's Superman. Like, that picture just encapsulates everything that is Superman. He looks like Superman right there. You can't ask for anything more when you're looking for a picture.
No one's gonna mistake who that is.
Exactly. And it is a great, great, great picture. Now, obviously there's people that, call it out and everything like that. What I want to talk about briefly here is because when I saw this picture drop, I immediately shared it. It was like, this is a great picture. That's all I said, because it is. It's a great picture. Like, it's amazing. I love it. But then I saw people talking about it on social media saying, this should have been the first picture they showed. This is the first picture that should have been showed. So then I reshared it again and I said, yes, this probably should have been the first picture that we got, but we have it now. So who cares? Like, this is great. We have it now. Let's rejoice now. This is the picture we have now. So still, people were talking for nearly 24 hours. This should have been the first picture. So I then went further with it. So here's the first picture that we got. This was the initial picture we got on May 6th, 2024, more than a year ago. This was the initial picture we got of Superman, where we saw him fully suited up for this movie. I remember when I saw this, I was like, damn, the suit's awesome. I love the suit. But I was like, I don't think this is the right photo to portray Superman for the first time. That was my issue with it. It wasn't the suit. It wasn't Corn Sweat. It wasn't anything about him putting on his boot. Like, okay, cool. Like, this is a cool shot. I like it. But for me, I sat there and said, this is not the kind of shot that I would want to put out there as the first shot of a movie about Superman. Maybe a second or third shot that you put out there, sure. Not only that, but I thought the background, everything behind him just looked artificial. And that was my take. Now, Gunn explained that this first look was a photo that was taken on set by Jess Miglio and was entirely in camera. And that's what they said. So now, nearly an entire year, more than a year later, we get this shot, which is vastly better. Again, I don't think it matters because we're less than a month and a half away from the movie and we're getting this. It's an awesome shot. Let's just focus on the movie. Let's just get excited about the movie. Sure, the first shot, the first image we got a year ago wasn't great in my opinion. That's probably the biggest issue. I've been upfront about that from the very beginning. But when you get down to it, I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care what happened a year ago. I don't think anybody should care what happened a year ago. We're here today. And I think the marketing has improved. It has improved since then. It's improved. They've put out a lot of better shots. They've put out really good pictures and photos. And I think it's gotten really good. And it's hyping people up. People are getting excited for this movie.
Yeah. I wouldn't agree with you that personally. I love this shot. This is a great shot. But I personally wouldn't agree that this is a better shot than the other shot. I think that they portray very different things. What we're looking at here is classic superhero Superman. This is Superman looking heroic, and you wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of that guy. But what I like about the other picture, is that it looks like I feel like this image humanizes him. This is Superman going to work. This is look, he's putting his, it's like, what's the saying? I put my pants on like everyone else. I like that. I like the idea that our first shot was of a humanized Superman. This is the guy who's going off to work to help people. But I think they depict the character in different moments and different feels. So I don't know that I'd say one's better than the other, but I think they're both great shots.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like I said, My biggest issue is that this was the first image we got because I like the image. I think there's some issues with it. Like I said, the background specifically, I think is it just. I know it's an in-camera shot. But I just it just seems off to me. Always has. But when I sit here and think about like the first image that we should see for Superman for a Superman movie, I'm not sitting there thinking like, oh, let's get him a shot of him putting on his boots. And I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, we should get one just like Zack Snyder did where he's slammed up against a vault. No, like that was good for Zack Snyder's film. I'm not even saying it should be like that. But definitely this here is a great picture because it's showing Superman. This is the heroic Superman. And I think personally to me, this would have been the better type of image. Not this one specifically, but an image like this would have been better because it would have portrayed, look, this is a heroic Superman for this movie. And then, like I said, if the second image or a third image, when you're starting to try and remind people that, look, this is going to be a different type of movie where we humanize him for the audience, you show a picture like this. That's how I think that it should have gone. But again, the marketing, the showcasing the photos and things like that have gotten better over the last year. And I'm somebody who thinks that the marketing has been very solid for the entire time. But I think it has gotten a lot better, specifically with the photos, because I think they've done a hell of a job with how they've handled the trailers, the TV spots, and everything like that. But specifically with how they've been releasing photos, I think it's gotten better, especially over the last, 2-3 weeks. But yeah, I again, it's not a terrible photo. It's not a bad photo. I just think when it comes to when you compare it to like, here's a first photo and here's a photo a month and change out, I would have flopped them. I would have flipped them personally.
I'll tell you something else. I keep hearing a narrative. I won't name names, but you probably know one of the people I heard say this. I keep hearing a narrative that they've gone back and used CGI to fix the suit because we complained and they heard our complaints. This comes from behind the scenes photos we saw. Nothing from the finished film. We saw some behind the scenes photos where the suit was kind of not fitting properly.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw those photos, my first thought was, this isn't the movie. This is behind the scenes. This is not how that suit is going to look on camera with the lighting and the, it's no way is it going to look like this. I remember when behind the scenes images of Shazam got out and everybody was mocking the Shazam costume. Then the movie came out and it looked fine. These things never look good in person. There's a lot of they know how to light them. They know what angles to shoot them from. So I saw that and I always was like, it's not going to look like that in the final film. And now they're going, it reminds me, there was a guy on YouTube years ago who made up this false rumor about Indiana Jones. And he's like, they're going to kill off Indiana Jones and replace him with a woman. And it was not true. And then to cover his butt, a few months later, he's like, they heard our complaints and reshot the ending. And it's like, well, now when the movie comes out, nobody can call you on your BS because you covered your ass just now.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen those posts on specifically on Twitter or X, whatever it's called. I've seen those posts where people are like, oh, look, they're fixing the suit in post and it's because of what we've been saying. No, you idiots. That's not what's happening. The post has been happening for the last year plus because they do post while it's filming as well. That stuff's been going on and they were always going to adjust the suit in post. I mean, that's what they were going to do. Now, are they going to fix all the bagginess to it? No, because that's kind of what gives the suit its charm a little bit. That's what gives it its aesthetic for the type of setting this movie is in. This isn't the suit. This isn't a suit that's supposed to make Superman look like a god, like in Zack Snyder's films. Like that's why Snyder's films, that's why Henry Cavill's suit is so form-fitting. It makes him look like a god, and you see every little ripple of the muscle, which, remember, that is a muscle suit in there as well. Like, I know Henry Cavill was ripped, don't get me wrong, but there is a muscle padded suit in that suit, as like within that suit as well. But it, that's why it looks that way, because he was portraying those heroes as gods, so he wanted them to look like these ripped gods.
And,
This Superman isn't supposed to look like that. This is supposed to be a different iteration, which we were just talking about. So yes, it's still going to have some wrinkles. It's going to look a little bit different. It's not going to look as form-fitting as Snyder's did or as others have. That's okay. Like, why is it such a bad thing? Like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand what these people's, why their minds are so like, oh, there's a wrinkle. Wrinkle destroys the movie. Like,
I've never believed, like, I've been reading Superman comics as long as I can remember. I've never believed that Superman should look like a bodybuilder. Like he should not be that muscle bound, because Superman's strength does not come from muscle.
No.
It comes from the Earth's yellow sun charging his body. Christopher Reeve was not like a muscle man, like, I mean, he was in good shape. Like, he wasn't like wimpy looking, but he wasn't. So
even look at like Tom Welling, look at Brandon Routh. They were they had muscular. They had a good build, but they weren't ripped like Henry Cavill was. They weren't ripped like these big muscle bodybuilders were. They had some good size, and even look at Corn Sweat here. You can tell he's got a good physique under that suit, but it's not about being ripped. It's about having a good physique, so you look like you're hulking out, you're big and strong, but you don't have to have this crazy godlike physique. And I think it looks great. I think this suit is a great looking suit. And again, we know in these movies we'll see multiple suits. That's just how it is in these films. So this is this movie suit. Maybe we get another one by the end of the movie. I've suspected that for months and months, that we're going to see a second suit in this movie. Now, we may not. We may get another one in the follow-up film. Who knows? But eventually we're going to see other suits, and maybe we'll get one that's a little more form-fitting. Maybe we get one that looks more like a bodysuit that's shows more muscular features. Who knows? We'll see what happens as the films go on.